Max Verstappen says F1 should go full Mario Kart in Monaco because nothing else is working. After a new two-stop rule flopped and overtaking stayed impossible, drivers and team bosses are calling for drastic change. Is Monaco still worth it? Max Verstappen didn't hold back after Monaco, joking that Formula One might as well go full Mario Kart if it wants to shake things up on the streets of Monte Carlo. The comment came after the debut of a controversial two-stop rule designed to spice up the notoriously processional Monaco Grand Prix. While it stirred plenty of debate, the race itself remained a slow burner. Verstappen finished exactly where he started in P4, only diving into the pits for his second stop on the penultimate lap. The FIA introduced the rule after last year's snooze fest, where drivers cruised to the finish on a single set of tyres post-red flag. But this new twist arguably fell flat. In the midfield, teams like Racing Bulls and Williams pulled out the team tactics playbook, using one driver as a rolling roadblock to help the other score points. It worked too, with all 4 drivers landing in the top 10, just not in thrilling fashion. When asked by Sky F1 what he thought of the experiment, Verstappen offered a cheeky verdict that perfectly captured the mood. If we're doing gimmicks, why not go all the way? Yeah, but you can't race here anyway, he said. So, it doesn't matter what you do, 1 stop, 10 stops. I mean, even at the end, right? I was in the lead, but my tyres are completely gone, and you still can't pass. I think nowadays, with an F1 car, you can just pass a Formula 2 car around here. When asked if he appreciated F1 at least trying to fix Monaco's parade-like racing, Verstappen shrugged it off with a wry smile. Yeah, of course. I mean, I get it. But I don't think it has worked. Formula One team bosses are pushing for a rethink of the iconic Monaco Grand Prix, starting with the track itself. After Sunday's attempts to inject life into the race with a mandatory 2-stop rule fell flat, calls are growing to tweak the layout and finally create a real overtaking zone. Despite the rule shake-up, the race played out like a familiar procession. Lando Norris took a commanding win, never really challenged over 78 laps that featured just 2 on-track overtakes. Drivers like Max Verstappen, who finished 4th, and George Russell, down in 11th, were quick to label the rule change a flop. Red Bull boss Christian Horner didn't mince words, saying the real solution lies in the circuit. If F1 wants proper racing in Monaco, he argued, it's time to carve out at least one section where passing is actually possible. The fundamental problem is you cannot overtake here, he said. The cars are so big now that you just don't have a chance to get alongside. It's circuit-specific, we've known that. It's been on the calendar for 72 years. Everything has to move with the times, ultimately. It's an iconic and historic circuit, but if you look at how Monaco has changed, how much land they've reclaimed into the sea, I don't think you'd need to do too much. There just needs to be one area where you can have an overtake, and everybody knows that coming here the race was pretty much done on Saturday. We've introduced another dynamic with the pit stop, which ultimately for the top 10, other than the retirement, nobody really changed position. The race turned into a strategic stalemate, with the front runners mirroring each other's pit stops, and no safety car or red flag to shake things up. With no chaos to capitalize on, the action, or lack of it, was left to pit lane tactics. Further down the field, teams resorted to chessboard strategies, using one driver to crawl around and hold up the pack, creating gaps for their teammate to pit safely. The result? A frustrating DRS train for those stuck behind, and a growing sense of futility in the midfield. By the end, few were thrilled with how it all played out. Norris admitted the rule added a sense of jeopardy, but not the kind fans want. Instead of real racing, he said the outcome felt like it hinged more on luck than on-track battles. There's not been any more overtaking here. I thought that was what was wanted, he said. Now you just give people opportunity by luck, by waiting for a red flag, waiting for a safety car. You aren't getting a more deserved winner in the end of things. While the Automobile Club de Monaco insists that altering the track layout is virtually impossible, McLaren team principal Andrea Stella believes it's a conversation worth having, and maybe the only real way to fix the racing. We should praise that Formula One and the FIA made an attempt to improve racing, he said. The main limitation, remains the fact that you cannot overtake, and this is quite structural as a limitation. I'm not sure exactly how this can be modified, just simply by imposing a certain number of pit stops. I'm not sure there's anything that can be done from a track layout point of view. I've never thought of this aspect, but maybe there's something that we should consider. On paper, the mandatory two-stop rule had the makings of a thriller, opening the door for bold gambles and chaos, especially if safety cars or red flags came into play. But, in reality, it fizzled out. Aside from a brief virtual safety car early on, the race ran clean, and predictably. Overtaking remained a pipe dream around Monaco's tight, twisting layout. Just ask Fernando Alonso, who still set competitive lap times despite a failing ERS system and zero chance to pass anyone. It was a weekend to forget for Mercedes, who walked away from Monaco empty-handed after both drivers failed to reach Q3. Team boss Toto Wolff, however, wasn't ready to throw in the towel, hinting that while the two-stop experiment fell short, it's worth revisiting with some tweaks for next year. I think, even if this was a zero-stop race and we're doing autocourse on the Sunday, it's still a mega venue, and then it's the Saturday shootout that matters. But I think what we can look at is to create some Monaco-specific regulations, that there's only a maximum amount of back-off that you can have. You can't hold up a train. Overtaking anyway is difficult, but you can say you can't go slower than X seconds from the leaders. That will probably create a little bit more of a closer field. Does it improve the overtaking? I don't think that's feasible. We need to talk also with maybe ACM, Automobile Club de Monaco, here to say, is there anything we can change on the layout? It's difficult, we're in a city, we're limited by a mountain and the sea, but I see the positive. This is an unbelievable spectacle. Sauber team boss Jonathan Wheatley likened the traditional rules to rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, and in that sense, this year's shake-up was a step in the right direction. Mercedes' Toto Wolff echoed that sentiment, saying he was glad F1 at least dared to try something different to tackle Monaco's overtaking drought. "We're motorsport people," he said. And so the perspective I look at it is that most of the relevant sporting event is on Saturday, and it's always been. But what F1 has created here is unbelievable. Grandstands full, terraces full, boats like I've never seen before. Yesterday I filmed from my terrace a traffic jam of 1.5 kilometers at 2:30 in the morning. That is the kind of 360-degree angle that Formula One needs to have. We have spectacular races on the Saturday. They're kind of old-school tracks that function for whatever reason we don't know either. Here we tried something. We tried an experiment with two-stop. It didn't change anything in the outcome. You had that gang at the front who had basically free air, and then midfield people battling for points backing up massively. Monaco looked stunning, but the racing? Not so much. The two-stop rule changed little, and even team bosses are calling for a layout rethink. Verstappen joked, it's time for Mario Kart rules. Maybe he's not wrong. Should Monaco evolve or stay sacred? Drop your thoughts below and hit subscribe for more F1 breakdowns.